onto this computer. All right, everybody, the first thing we're going to do is Bill's going to talk about the balloon project, and then I will answer questions probably on tomorrow's assignment. So, all right. If I can get this there. All right, Bill, it's all yours. Oh, I'm assuming it's using the microphone off that camera.
Probably. That's fine. It's a better microphone all in all.
Maybe closer.
Yeah, let me grab my glasses.
The video's not on anyway. So. Are you Ethan? Yes. Ah.
Oh, he's got your number now, Ethan. Facial recognition. You're in trouble. Okay, so ready to start then?
Yep, go there.
Okay, guys, my name is Bill Richards. I'm an adjunct professor here, and Ken and I have had some conversations over the years, and I recently mentioned to him about some of these high-altitude balloon projects that various educational locations have been doing, and a lot of private people as well. And so we got together, and we ended up getting some grant money. And we've got some of the equipment we're going to need to use to put a high-altitude balloon, fingers crossed, over 100,000 feet in the air, and get some video and do some experiments and stuff like that. Now, I'm calling it the Rose State College High-Altitude Balloon Project, or RHAB for short. And this is what a high-altitude balloon looks like.
This PowerPoint be online, or is this it?
Yes.
I can share. I'll put it in the cybersecurity club too.
Okay, that'd be fine. And so anyway, a high-altitude balloon is basically a weather balloon filled with helium. You could use hydrogen, but there's a downside to that. Anybody hear of the Hindenburg?
Yep.
Okay, they used hydrogen.
So
It's flammable. What?
why is that a problem?
So even though helium may be a little more expensive, it may not have quite the lift power of hydrogen, that's the best way to go because it's safe. But anyway, we're talking about a weather balloon, which we have, carry a payload. And as you can see in this diagram, there's several components that can be put together on it. And if you look at some of the videos on YouTube, you'll see lots of different configurations. Most of them will have, of course, the balloon. And then beneath the balloon normally is a parachute. And beneath the parachute would be the payload. And basically the payload can consist of a lot of things. In this case, at a minimum, it's going to be a GPS equipment and a camera and a Raspberry Pi 3 and anything else we can come up with to decide we want to send up. And here's broken down a little bit more. You can have multiple payloads on any type of high altitude balloon. And from what I've been seeing, it's probably a good idea to have the shroud ring there. It's basically a ring that you tie all the lines coming from the parachute to. And it kind of helps them, keeps them from getting tangled up and holds them wider apart and makes sure that your parachute will grab air. One of the other drawbacks is when you go to altitude, eventually that balloon's going to break. And occasionally I've seen some videos and stuff where the balloon will wrap itself around the parachute and things will come down a little faster than you intended. This is another example here. This particular one here, if you look there just above the payload, it's a radar reflector. So having been in aviation most of my life, I think that's probably a good idea. Most aircraft, at least airliners, have weather radar, and they're going to be able to pick up the target and signals coming back from that particular reflector. Okay, there's a website out there that gives you a flight predictor, and basically it uses the forecast of the winds. You give it a lat long starting location and a time of the day. Yes.
So do you know how long it will be in the air for then?
Yeah. In this particular case, you can see it was airborne 138 minutes is what they projected. So you give them the size of the balloon, how much helium you're going to put in it, how much your whole system weighs, and then it'll do a prediction. And the predictions today, the wind's fairly calm, even at altitude. But the bottom line is this one basically travels straight line 47 miles. And it would reach an altitude of just over 90,000. Did you have a question? Yes.
Where do you plan on releasing it at?
Well, that's something we're going to have to work on. This case here, I just did the predictor and gave it lat longs of the baseball field over here at Rose State, just to see how it would work. And it looks like that would have been a pretty decent path. You'll see on some of the predictions, based on what the weather is doing up there, the winds are at different speeds and directions, and the higher you go. And sometimes you'll actually see the balloons double back on themselves. They'll go 50 miles to the east and all of a sudden come back 50 miles to the west because they get to a higher level where the wind's going in a different direction. Yes.
Who gets to go get it?
The team that's on the recovery team.
So be careful though, if you're 50 miles east and it ends up landing 50 miles west, that's a long drive.
Well, you're going to use a predictor, and the predictor will show them going to the west, but once the balloon bursts, it starts falling again, and now it starts coming back into the winds that will blow it back to the east.
So
These predictors are pretty good. I mean, in one instance, one video I watched, the balloon that got wrapped around the parachute, well, the landing was 11 miles off from where it was predicted. And that's because you can't predict the shrouds and everything getting tangled up with the parachute. So in this case here, it took 99 minutes to reach altitude and burst. And then 39 minutes as it came back down. Was airborne 138 minutes. Total distance traveled 82 miles. Between the launch and landing, 47 miles. And so when we come close to getting around to launching this, we'll be choosing our site. And we can do things, a good place would be, a large park, or a school's got a football field or a soccer field or something like that, where you don't have any large trees real close to the launch site. And then, we could do something. We could go all the way out to Harrow before we launch it. Depends on what the winds are doing and the days we've selected for the launch.
Do we also have to worry about tinkers? Is there like a no-fly zone or anything?
What was that again?
Do we have to worry about tinkers? Is there like a no-fly zone or anything?
We're going to have to work with the FAA and find out where we can launch it. There could be a restriction area. Now, I read one group up in Minnesota. They had to be what seemed a little bit unreasonable to me, but about 80 miles away from the Minneapolis International Airport. Yeah, there's a lot of traffic going in there as compared to Tinker and Oklahoma City, but I thought 80 miles was a little extreme. And the reason why I think that is because in another life, I was an air traffic controller. And so I have a little bit of insight into what goes on with the FAA and regulations and some of the airspace parameters that you got to be on guard for. So anyway, the phases of the flight, obviously, once you pick your launch site and launch time and get the balloon out there and set it up, then you got your ascent, you get to altitude where the balloon finally breaks, it breaks, comes back down, and you recover it. Now, we can track it while it's up there. There are several different things we're going to have going in this particular balloon right now. One of them is we have a GPS tracker that we've purchased, and we've got the subscription. And this GPS tracker talks to satellites, and then you can go to a web page and track where it is. Now, the GPS tracker is really only critical to us when we get in the lower altitudes of the flight, between the surface and 4,000 feet. The other tracking system, which is going to be connected to a computer, and I'm going to show you the components here in a minute, is a APRS transmitter. That's the amateur packet radio system. And basically, it's ham radio stuff, so we'll have to get a ham radio license. But that's just somebody passing a 35-question test and paying $25 or something like that and getting a ham license. So we might get a couple of people interested in doing that. I'm planning on getting one. And that allows you to transmit on a certain frequency in the United States that allows you to have all these different receivers that people have put up, pick up that information from your transmitter and send it to a website that you can follow live while the balloon is at altitude. And so that's pretty neat stuff too. And I'll show you that website here in a minute. The payload that we've got, everything has got a check mark by it. Red check mark means we already have that. So we have the GPS, and I'll show you where that GPS comes from in a minute. We have the radio transmitter, which is the automatic packet reporting system. Then we have a Raspberry Pi, and we're going to have a Sense HAT. That's a card that goes on top of the Raspberry Pi. And I'll tell you a little more detail about that. But coincidentally, there are currently 2 Raspberry Pis and Sense HAT combinations on the International Space Station today. They've been using them for experiments and stuff. We also have a Raspberry Pi camera, and we'll probably want to scrounge up a couple other digital cameras. Because based on what I've seen, you know, that's one of the big thrills you get out of it, is getting some video back and some good pictures. And I've seen the camera placements in several locations. Some are looking straight down, some are looking up at the balloon, some are looking laterally. So if we can get one in all 3 of those axes, I think that'd be pretty nice. Okay, with the Raspberry Pi Sense HAT, you get the following sensors. Besides the fact we got a camera, you get a temperature. Now one comes on the Sense HAT, and another one comes with the flight computer that comes with the balloon kit that we got. So that means that we could have the temperature of inside the payload box, which will normally be something made out of styrofoam to keep it warm. And we'll put like one of those cheap hand warmers that you break open and put in there to help keep it warm during the flight. We'll have a gyroscope, an accelerometer, magnetometer, barometric pressure, and a humidity sensor. And any additional payload components that we can come up with as a team. This is what your basic Raspberry Pi looks like. And a quick rundown over on the right side there with some of the different combination access ports and stuff that you have with it. The main thing is it's a quad-core ARM V8 CPU. We got wireless, which we won't need to use the Wi-Fi necessarily. And Bluetooth, probably won't need that either. It'll have 1 gig of RAM, 4 USB ports, and it also has a port which is located right there for the camera. You would hook your ribbon camera into that port there. It also has an Ethernet port. So there's a lot of different things you can do with these. I have several of them. I don't know how many of you guys have a Raspberry Pi. Okay, all right, good deal. That's what the Sense HAT looks like. Besides having an LED matrix and a 5-button joystick, which we probably won't need for the flight, it has all those sensors like I mentioned earlier. This is the Eagle flight computer. It comes with the balloon kit that we ordered. It has an unlocked GPS receiver, which means it can receive and transmit or receive GPS signals at altitude. A lot of common GPS devices are locked and they won't pick up satellites after you get above a certain altitude. Why? I don't know. That's just kind of the way they've got them configured. It has a micro SD card to basically be able to save all the data we collect. And that would be our entire flight data when we plug in get the GPS going. And also have the data going to the radio, which will plug into one of these 2 connectors here or over here. I think it's going to be over here. And then, of course, it has a battery case, which we may or may not use. We have other batteries. This is what the radio thing looks like, the transmitter. And when you connect it up to that Eagle flight controller or computer, it will transmit position, altitude, speed, temperature, and pressure once every minute. So as long as we're getting signals from that, we'll be able to watch where it's going and see how closely it's following the predicted track. This is the spot trace satellite tracker, which we have. Basically, every 2.5 minutes, we're going to have it set up for 2.5 minutes, but it can do several different intervals. And it will send the information up to the service that comes along with this tracker. And it'll be something we can look at in Google Maps. This is important when it comes back down to Earth and it gets below 4,000 feet. a lot of the APRS receivers won't be able to pick it up because they need line of sight to pick up that little radio bug. So this thing will we'll be able to home in on pretty much exactly where it is. Okay, so that's what comes in the kit, the weather balloon. One of the things, this is a pretty good sized weather balloon, just about the biggest one they have at this particular company. And so it can potentially go up to above 120,000 feet. So with our fingers crossed, we'll get at least above 100. And then, of course, it comes with the flight computer and a temperature pressure sensor. They gave a flight frame with it. I'm not sure if that's what we're going to use. It's basically made out of basswood, very light wood, and I'm not too sure if it's going to be what we want. We'll probably go something with a styrofoam box that we make or something like that. It comes with a 1 meter near space parachute, basically to, when the balloon breaks, bring everything back to ground without coming down at a death-defying speed and smashing into a bunch of pieces. We got an inflator kit with a hose, and they also have a manual that goes along with that. I've got a soft copy of the manual, and I'm going to post that out to where I'm going to keep all the information about the website or about the balloon flight. Okay, there's a picture of a Raspberry Pi with the Sense HAT attached. There's a picture of the camera as it's connected to the Raspberry Pi. And these are some of the additional accessories that we have. We're going to need a radar reflector. I've seen some on Amazon, for that matter, that are pretty cheap, 20 or 25 bucks. Latex gloves. If you watch some of the videos, one of the things you got to be careful about when you're inflating your balloon is not puncturing it. So you don't want any hangnails getting into it or something like that. So you're going to have everybody wearing latex gloves. And of course, we're going to want helium. I've also seen a couple of things where they'll get a big plastic ground sheet and lay it over top of the balloon, and it allows you to hold on to the ground sheet with the balloon underneath the sheet, making it easier to control. Because I think the last thing you'd want to have happen is get your balloon all filled up before you get everything attached, and all of a sudden it takes off because somebody let go accidentally. So there's a lot of different things we can do with it. Now here's an example of what a balloon would look like with a lot of different payloads. And as you see down here, there are several different payloads. Then they have the radio tracking system down here and even another payload. So in this particular case, they came up with different, I can't remember what university it was, but they came up with this particular payload system and had various organizations come up with payloads. Now, it really boils down to just how much your balloon's going to be able to carry and what your target altitudes are. The heavier you make the balloon, the more helium you got to put in, and at some point, you can't put any more helium in because the balloon will be full. So you got to take all that stuff into consideration. Some of our requirements and considerations is the FAA application and approval. Pretty much here in the United States, believe it or not, it's pretty much a no-brainer. As long as we follow their regulation, which is set out in FAA Part 101. And based on what I know right now, and more research will have to be done, the maximum payload weight can be 4 pounds. And we're dealing with about at least 5 pounds of balloon and a few other things. So we got to basically watch our weight real good. Launch site selection, we're going to have to research that and figure out where a good place to be. I don't think launching from Rose State campus is going to be a player just because of the proximity to Tinker. But once we look into the regulations and determine all that, then we make sure we meet the FAA requirements and select our launch site. These are some of the team assignments I think we're going to need. We'll need a launch team. And I'm going to show you one video here in just a minute. And is the USB still on there? Yeah. It's going to have things laid out in a certain way, but the video I've got is just showing the flight. It's a 4-minute video. But the different assignments the team can have, will have a launch team, We'll have somebody working the FAA coordination, a media coordinator or coordinators, somebody that's working with local news media, maybe with the Rose State media office and stuff like that, because, obviously you want to get a little attention out of it. The launch team, I mentioned that twice. A track and recovery team, payload team, somebody to work with assembling the components and getting the payload box built and stuff like that. We'll probably need somebody handling administrative details. Obviously, somebody in charge of safety. So there's a lot of different things we got to take into consideration. So a lot of them is, it's still up in the air. Right now, I'm proposing we meet in this room, not 201, but probably on the 9th of February with our first RHAB meeting. Is there?
Check and see if that room's available.
Yeah.
Look at the door.
Okay. And this is just proposed meeting time. Once we get it concrete, we'll let everybody know. And these are some of the web links. Now, this is the one here I was telling you about. This is the automated packet reporting system. And this is
Class in here.
on Thursdays.
Tuesday, Thursday, there's an economics class in here.
Okay.
We could do Wednesday. No, we can't do Wednesday. Someone's in there.
Mr. Dewey's office.
We can use other rooms. 201's available, 211, 214.
Yeah.
I mean,
The conference room.
yeah, 101's even available. Conference
Okay.
room downstairs, across from my office. So,
All right.
yeah, just pick a day we can make it work.
All right. I'll do that. Anyway, this is it's focused in on Oklahoma City, but this is basically some of the stuff that's going on in the APRS right now. As you can see, some people have these little packet reporting systems in their vehicles, and you can see somebody's track looks like they're going down sooner right now. And there's a lot more to this. There are sites all over the country. It's a rather large system. And again, it's once you have a ham radio license, then you can transmit on this frequency all across the country, and these receivers will pick it up and send the information to the website. What else did I have there? That's not the one I wanted. This one here. This is another site where you can actually go to now and see balloons being tracked. Now, right now, this is showing us a balloon over North Korea. So a lot of weather balloons are being launched all around the world these days. And there's usually one or two somewhere in the United States. This one here, it's kind of interesting. It went up to 27,000 meters. Currently, it's at 1,400.
So that's the Mexico border. So what, 200 pounds?
Huh? Now, I think this one was made just suspecting it may be something to do with Customs Border Control. It may be a stationary balloon they're using.
It's going to be a lot more.
Yeah.
Is that gray line?
Certainly will.
Is that gray line the wall?
That's the soon-to-be wall.
No, the wall's going to be further in, so we get more.
Okay. All right. So when I'm doing this, when I get things going on this, I'm going to set up I've got it set up now, the collaboration site. I've already posted a couple of videos out there, so it's pretty easy to look at. It's basically a component of D2L. So most of you are familiar with D2L. And I think that should be my last slide. Let me see if I can get that video going. Got a question? Yes.
Yeah, I was wondering how you're going to power this thing for the whole flight time, because just the Raspberry Pi alone consumes.
Well, right now we have two 4,400 milliamp battery packs, and if we need to make, we got to determine our power requirements. And so I've already got two of them that we bought from the initial purchase. If we need more, we'll have to look into obtaining some more money to go out and get them. But they won't be that much more expensive to this thing, I don't think. We got most of the bases covered.
Balloon into the air. a small power plant going with it.
Well, asking you.
You just see it glowing.
Somebody said, what happens if the flood lands on top of a building or in the middle of a highway or somewhere unreachable?
Yeah, there's some, I've watched a lot of different videos, and there are concerns about where it lands. Sometimes it may land on federal property, and you have to seek out permissions and escort to go out and get the balloon. But so far, everything I've seen, people have had a lot of success. This particular video here, it's kind of funny that, you know, they launched this one down Texas A&M. And when it comes down, you know, one of the places you don't want to land is in a tree. And it came about as close to landing in a tree as you can, and not landing in the tree. So I'm going to show this video real quick. It's about a 4-minute video. It's a little jittery right here with whatever camera they're using, but then you start getting the good pictures. I don't know if there's any volume on it or not. There's some dopey music with it.
What a bunch of nerds.
This one I kind of like because they have a camera that looks straight down. If anybody's subject to vertigo, you might want to close your eyes during a certain port. And that's a different kind of platform they've got there. You see the parachute. It looks to me like it's almost like 2 parachutes. I'm not sure. They got a reflector on there. Then it's like a handmade that one with tinfoil. I don't know what that yellow thing is. It kind of looks like a flashlight, but I don't know why it would be hanging there. Big pardon?
Maybe an IR beacon.
It could be. See, it looks like it's snowing. They got the altitude and little ice crystals or something going by. You see an airport up over here.
Doesn't show you, what's that, about 3,500 feet?
I'm not sure. That looked a little higher than 3,500.
Back then. I went skydiving once. It looked similar.
Yeah.
Actually, I do have a question while we're watching this. What is all allowed to take with during enrollment students?
Yes.
No enrollment fees at all.
STEM club? Going there for the STEM club? Okay. I sent the email to Dr. Jones yesterday. Okay. Actually, I didn't even think about letting you guys know earlier, but I think it'd be awesome if you guys get involved.
Wow.
Yeah, this is high altitude balloons are an excellent project for going right up the STEM alley for sure.
I meant to ask him a week ago and I totally forgot until yesterday. I'm like, oh.
Now the balloon just burst, and they'll replay it here in a second. So things become a little bit less calm once the balloon bursts. In this case, you'll actually see the pieces of the balloon right there.
What a cheap balloon.
I think that's the way you want them to burst in the little tiny pieces. Then you won't get wrapped around your parachute coming back down.
Is there any way to get live streaming video? There isn't.
There probably is. If somebody can figure out how to do it.
Research time.
You're late.
I was gonna say.
That's a treat.
Let's turn it into a mobile Wi-Fi.
That's about as close as you can get. Beg pardon?
How long was that in the air for?
138 minutes, I think it said. Or I'm not sure. No, that's right. I don't know how long. But this, that was referring to my prediction. Normally, most of these, unless you get some of your calculations wrong, it's only going to be in the air 3 hours, maybe less, maybe a little more. Yeah, if you get your calculations wrong and it becomes a floater, it may stay up there for a long time.
I found it. Good job.
So it's turning into like a mobile wireless port at the end.
So anyway, I guess, I just want to introduce some of you guys to what the project's going to be. And we're looking for volunteers for the team. I got some sign-up sheets here. If anybody's interested, basically just looking for your name and your email address. So you want to pass those around? And what I'll do is, if you're really interested in doing this and joining the project, I'll add you to the collaboration website. All I need is your email address to do that. And probably best to use your Raider email address. If you don't have one, then, your home personal address. And once you get that, it'll send you out a daily digest or anything that gets posted out there on the collaboration site.
Yeah, any idea what day it's gonna be?
What
Day it's gonna be? Like,
what day for what?
The launch day?
no launch day.
No, that's
We have no idea.
to be determined.
We have 1 year to do it.
Oh, 1 year.
1 year, because we bought a subscription for the device for 1 full year. So it's gonna take a while to figure it out, and obviously,
The device itself, can we launch it more than once?
I mean.
We'd have to get another balloon, and all the components would still be there. If everything comes back down the way we want and we recover it, then of course the parachute's reusable, the Raspberry Pi, all that equipment will be reusable,
So,
and we may learn some valuable lessons from the first launch.
so it's not happening soon.
Pardon?
It's not happening soon.
I'm hoping that we would launch by April or May.
Which would be good, that way you guys get involved. I mean, if it works good, we can definitely buy another balloon for the ball. But problem is, you don't want to be launching in December and.
Yeah, it might be a little, as we get more research into this, launching in April and May, that could be a little dicey. We'd like to pick a day where the winds are not too crazy and it's not full of tornadoes and stuff like that.
All right,
So-
any more questions for Bill? I know a bunch of students got questions for me, so.
Okay.
Yeah, did you have students want to just send me,
This is Oklahoma.
I did the list.
All right.
Oh, this is Oklahoma.
All right, so is that interesting? Some of you want to do this? Yes, a few of you at least?
Yes.
And you three in the back, that will look awesome to put on your resume. Participated in this project, I guess these.
Bless you.
Uh,
All right. Now the fun stuff.
Will you split this one and then do the tutorial?
Okay, so you know what, you want me to stop this recording?
Yes. Uploads.
Fine, let me stop it.